All right, guys, it's Wednesday, January 29th, 2025, and we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the upcoming winter storms and severe weather that are about to impact a massive portion of the country. This next round of storms is going to be very different from the deep freezes and Arctic outbreaks we've been tracking over the past few weeks. You might remember how earlier this month we had widespread record-breaking cold, with Arctic air plunging all the way down into the southern U.S., even bringing snow to places like Texas and the Gulf Coast. But now we're shifting into a more traditional late winter setup where we're seeing storm systems developing snow in the northern states and severe weather potential in the south. That doesn't mean this pattern is any less impactful, though. If anything, it could bring more active, fast-moving storms leading to heavy snowfall, blizzards, tornadoes, and flash flooding over the next couple weeks. There's a lot happening, and I want to break it all down so you can be fully prepared for what's coming. Right now, one of the biggest features we're watching is a powerful jet stream positioned over the northern and northeastern U.S. This jet stream is howling at several thousand feet above us, bringing in intense upper-level winds and pulling down another batch of bitterly cold air from Canada. While this isn't quite as extreme as the previous Arctic blast, it's still going to create dangerous wind chills and set the stage for frequent snow squalls, lake effect snow, and even some coastal snowfall over the next few days. However, unlike last time, this cold air mass isn't plunging straight south as aggressively, and that's because we have a closed-off upper-level low in the western U.S. that's helping to drag in warmer air from the Gulf of Mexico, the Pacific, and even parts of Mexico. This setup is going to allow for a much more dynamic weather pattern, where we get a collision of warm and cold air, and that's when things start to get really active. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. The first big concern is severe weather, particularly in Texas and Louisiana. As we head into Wednesday and Thursday, right now, models are showing a deep trough forming over the western U.S., which will push eastward and start interacting with moisture being pulled up from the Gulf of Mexico. This is a classic setup for strong to severe thunderstorms, and as the system progresses, it's looking increasingly likely that we'll see widespread severe storms, especially by Thursday afternoon and evening. Now, on Wednesday, the storms won't be as intense, but we could still see large hail, damaging winds, and a few isolated tornadoes developing in central and eastern Texas, possibly even stretching into parts of Oklahoma and Arkansas. But the real concern starts Thursday when we see a significant increase in wind shear, which is the change in wind speed and direction with height. This increased shear is what allows storms to rotate, and when storms rotate, that's when we start talking about tornado potential. While we won't have the same level of instability that we'd see in the spring or summer, the wind dynamics alone are strong enough to support tornadoes, and I'm especially concerned for areas from eastern Texas into Louisiana, Mississippi, and possibly western Alabama. At the same time, the Northeast and Great Lakes will be dealing with an entirely different problem. Intense snow squalls, frigid temperatures, and hazardous travel conditions. Today alone, we're already seeing fast-moving bands of snow, and these squalls can be incredibly dangerous, especially for drivers. If you're in Connecticut, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, or New York today, be on high alert because conditions can go from clear to whiteout in a matter of seconds. Over the next few days, we'll also see lake effect snow ramping up, particularly in upstate New York, western Pennsylvania, and parts of Michigan. Some places could see over a foot of snow, and if you're traveling in these areas, expect major delays and hazardous road conditions. Now, back to the south, this developing storm system isn't just about severe thunderstorms. It's also going to bring torrential rain and flash flooding. From Dallas all the way up into Kentucky and Tennessee, we're looking at a high probability of heavy downpours, and that means the potential for dangerous flash flooding. Cities like Little Rock, Memphis, and Nashville need to be prepared because excessive rainfall could lead to flooded roads, rapid rises in rivers, and even some mudslides in hilly terrain. Further north, as this system tracks east, we're also watching a significant snow event unfold in the Midwest and Northeast. Right now, Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, and Buffalo are in line to receive several inches of snow, with locally higher amounts in the interior Northeast. Even southern Ontario and Quebec could get in on the action. Snow totals are still a bit uncertain, but this is shaping up to be a solid winter storm for much of the region. And by the time we hit the weekend, we could be looking at major travel impact. Now, let's look ahead to February because things are only going to get more active. The long-range models are showing a very stormy setup through at least the first 2 weeks of the month. We're going to see persistent cold in the north, warmth in the south, and an active storm track in between. And that's a perfect recipe for more winter storms and severe weather. Now, It's not all bad news with this storm system. Over the past 48 hours, Southern California has been getting some much needed rainfall. While rain may be problematic for some areas, especially when it's heavy and leads to flooding in California, this is actually a huge relief. They've been battling wildfires for months, so this rain is beneficial in that it helps reduce those risks. So while there's definitely a lot to worry about with the storm, it's also providing some much needed relief in certain regions. Moving to the Northeast and Ohio Valley, we've already seen some snow today, and there's a chance we could see more snow squalls that could drop visibility to zero in some places, especially in Pennsylvania and New York. If you're in the Northeast, be prepared for snow squalls today and know that they'll continue throughout the day. Several inches of snow are expected, especially in Western New York, and even New England is going to get a few inches. So if you've got travel plans in these areas, make sure to keep an eye on the weather. As we look ahead to the rest of the week, it's clear that we're going to be dealing with multiple rounds of snow. Today, we're seeing the first round of snow in the Northeast, but tomorrow we'll get another round, which will lead to additional snowfall accumulation. By late Wednesday and into Thursday, we'll just be left with light snow before it all starts to move out. By Thursday, things will calm down for a little while, and then our focus will shift to the Southern Plains and the Rockies. On Wednesday, there's a low risk for severe weather across central and southern Texas with some isolated damaging winds and hail, but that's just the beginning. We're also going to see a lot of rain in places like Oklahoma and Texas, and the potential for flash flooding will increase as we head into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. There will also be snow falling across the Four Corners region, particularly around the Colorado area. However, this winter storm has shifted westward over the past few days, so it looks like it won't affect the Central Plains or the Midwest in the same way it was initially expected to. Still, I do think we'll see snow in the Midwest and Northeast in early to mid-February, so we'll keep an eye on that. By Thursday morning, the storm will really ramp up with heavy rain, thunderstorms, and even some severe weather across the Southern Plains, especially in Texas and Oklahoma. By Thursday afternoon, the storm will move into Arkansas and Louisiana, bringing severe weather risks there too. Cities like Houston, Austin, and San Antonio will be at the highest risk for severe weather on Thursday, with the possibility of damaging winds, hail, and even tornadoes. Right now, the risk for severe weather isn't off the charts, but it's still something we need to watch closely. As we move into Thursday night and Friday morning, the storm will continue to expand, and the warm air from the Gulf of Mexico will fuel it. That's why this storm is a bit unusual. It's not coming from the north, so we won't get much of a mix of cold air. Instead, this storm is pulling in a lot of warm air, which is why it's going to be mostly rain for a large portion of the United States. Despite the warm air, we'll still see some snow, particularly in the Midwest and Northeast. While it's not expected to be a huge snowfall event, we could see a few inches in places like Chicago, Michigan, and northern New England. It's not a major snowstorm, but it could still cause some travel disruptions, especially in those areas where a few inches could make a difference. By Friday afternoon and evening, the storm will continue to move eastward and eventually move off the coast by Saturday. Beyond Saturday, we're still uncertain about where exactly the snow will fall and how much we'll see, but it's clear that the Midwest and Northeast are likely to get more snow over the weekend. If you're new to the channel, make sure you're subscribed and have that notification bell on so you don't miss any updates as this storm progresses. Looking further ahead, we're seeing some early signs that we might be dealing with another storm system around the second weekend of February. The GFS model is indicating a large storm could form, but it's still too early to say exactly when or where that might happen. Long-range forecasting is always tricky, so we'll just have to wait and see how that develops. Forecasting this far out is like looking into a crystal ball. It's very hit or miss, and we won't really know for sure until it gets closer. However, for now, we're focused on the current storm system and how it will play out. One of the most important aspects of this storm is the rainfall it's bringing, particularly to Oklahoma and Texas. These areas are expected to get between 2 to 5 inches of rain, which could cause flash flooding, especially in southeast Oklahoma, where some locations could get up to 7 inches. This amount of rain is definitely going to make a difference, especially for areas that have been in drought. Places in the Ohio Valley and Dixie Valley will also see rainfall with amounts ranging from 1 to 3 inches in many areas. While this rain is helpful in terms of drought relief, the speed at which it's falling could cause flooding in areas that aren't prepared for it, particularly in Texas and Oklahoma. The severe weather risk will continue on Wednesday, but overall, it doesn't look like a major threat at the moment. There's a low chance for isolated severe storms south of Dallas and west of Houston, where we could see damaging winds and hail. But the tornado risk is pretty minimal right now. Thursday, however, has a much higher potential for severe weather. A mesoscale convective system will move across Southeast Texas, bringing damaging winds and hail. If supercells develop ahead of the line, there could be a higher risk for tornadoes. This is definitely something we'll need to keep an eye on, especially in Southeast Texas, Louisiana, and Dixie Alley. By Thursday night and Friday morning, the severe weather threat will move eastward, but by then it should be more of a low-end threat with just isolated damaging winds and a few thunderstorms. If we do go live during the storm, you'll get notified if you're subscribed with notifications on, so make sure you hit that bell icon. Back in the Northeast, the snow is going to continue to be a big deal tonight and tomorrow. We're looking at widespread snowfall from a coating to 3 inches, with the highest elevations in New England picking up 2 to 5 inches. In upstate New York, the bullseye of the snow will be between 4 to 8 inches, and some locations could even see up to a foot of snow. Winter storm warnings are in effect for these areas, so be prepared if you're in the region. Looking further ahead, this is the GFS Ensemble model showing the chances for greater than 1 inch of snow between now and February 8th. While chances for most of the country are still pretty low, the northern plains and northeast have a higher likelihood. Again, this is still early, so don't take it as gospel just yet, but it's a good starting point. I do expect we'll see snow in the Midwest and Northeast on Friday or Saturday, but it's not going to be anything too extreme. Finally, let's talk about the temperatures. Most of the country will see above average temperatures this week, especially in the eastern United States. The East Coast, Texas, and the Gulf Coast will be 10 to 15 degrees above average by Thursday and Friday. By the weekend, warmer air will push further north, and we could see temperatures in the low 70s in parts of North Texas. However, by Monday and Tuesday, colder air will begin to move in, especially in the northern plains. Don't worry too much about an Arctic blast. This one should fizzle out before it gets too intense, but it will bring some chilly temps to the northern parts of the country. Thanks so much for watching today. Don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that button and the bell so you don't miss any future updates. I'll see you in the next one.